how much is your integrity worth? And I don't mean that as a rhetorical question. I want you to actually think about and give me an answer, so to speak, of a number for a belief or a value. How much would it cost for you to compromise on that? For example, there's currently a debate around whether or not criminals should have the right to vote. But let's say that you, dear viewer, have the power with a stroke of a pen to give every criminal that has been released from prison the right to vote. And let's say, for the sake of argument, that this is something that's really important to you and something that you've been working for years. But then imagine someone comes along to you and says, I will pay you any amount of money you want in order to not do this. What do you think that number would be? Now, I'm not asking you to compromise on a big moral, such as how much money would it take for you to kill someone contract killer style? Because all you would need to tell me is that that person was mean to their dog, and they are a goner. Rather, how much money would it cost for you to compromise on something that's important to you, but not integral to who you are? And I ask this because the amount that Ryan Reynolds has to be paid in order to compromise on his values is around $300 million, which is his share of the $1.35 billion T-Mobile Mint Mobile buyout. Now, you've probably at least seen the Mint Mobile commercials, as they go pretty hard on their marketing and appear to be everywhere. And they very prominently display the fact that they are owned by Ryan Reynolds. And a huge part of Mint Mobile's entire marketing appeal was that they were an alternative to big wireless. Companies like T-Mobile, AT&T, and Verizon are huge and impersonal, and not only do they not really care about you, but they also charge you way too much money for their service. But Mint Mobile is run by your good friend and trustworthy internet influencer Ryan Reynolds, and he would never mistreat you. And as such, you should leave your big impersonal carrier and go over to his smaller, much more caring and personal carrier that will take good care of you, while also being much more affordable. Now, Mint Mobile, like I said, often uses languages or terms surrounding the alternative to big wireless sentiment. In fact, their website About Me says, quote, "We started Mint Mobile to give people an option that wasn't big wireless, an affordable premium wireless service that we'd actually want to use ourselves. That means ditching things like crazy fees, expensive contracts, and overall nonsense." And their career section invites people to apply to Mint Mobile by saying, quote, "Join the fight against big wireless." And all that language is well and good to use when there's nobody that's interested in buying them out. But then very suddenly the fight against big wireless kinda turned into an alliance with big wireless when big wireless came along with their big wireless money and buyout offers. It's like when Reddit mods say that they don't want a girlfriend. Like, yeah, of course you'd say that. That was never an option. But then they absolutely trip over themselves when someone expresses interest in coming home with them back to, I assume, their parents' basement. Because it's one thing to say you don't want something when there's no chance of you getting that thing at all. But it's a very different thing to say you don't want something when that thing is literally being handed to you. So I want to look at this instance of a rich person compromising their values in the pursuit of even more money. Which, now that I say it, kind of sounds like an Onion article. World shocked as rich person lied to his consumers for more money. But I kind of want to take this and zoom out and talk about the parasocial relationships that we tend to have with billionaires. Because like the title says, unless I've changed it, billionaires are not your friends. Also, for anyone unconvinced that Ryan Reynolds is a billionaire, I think he actually is. See, he sold his Aviation gin company for $610 million a couple of years ago, and now his Mint Mobile brand has been sold for $1.35 billion. He also co-founded a production company called Maximum Effort that's valued at about $10 million, and he's also the early investor of another company called 1Password that's valued at $6.8 billion. So I think it's safe to assume, based on his ownership stakes in the companies that are still around, the money he got from selling the companies that he doesn't own anymore, and that on top of the fact that he's one of the highest paid actors in the world right now, we can make the assumption that he is probably very close at least to $1 billion in net worth. Now, I don't know what it is, but it seems like once you start making money, the desire to continue making money seems to increase proportional to the amount of money you are making, and as such, it continues to go up and up and up, seemingly exponentially. But I want to make a differentiation between people who are working hard and making money off of it. If I build a piece of software and market it well, and lots of people like it and use it, and as such I make a lot of money off of that, that's actually very okay, because I haven't exploited anyone to get there. In fact, I would even say that's pretty good, because that encourages more people to try and build more and better software, and that advancement in technology pushes basically everything in society forward. However, if I were to create that same software, market it well, start to make a bunch of money, and then use that money to build a business empire for the sole purpose of exploiting workers to try and make me even more money, That is where I have an issue. And this is also very often what happens. There seems to be a point where companies hit a critical mass, so to speak, where their number one priority becomes profit, almost at the cost of literally anything else. And this critical mass often hits when they go public, and now they have tens of thousands, possibly up to millions of investors that are expecting them to make a continuous and increasing return on their investment. If these investors don't see the company's stocks going up over time, then they might bail. That causes the company to lose their investment, and that might cause the company to start losing profits. And heaven forbid companies lose their profits. So basically, these companies are now continuously forced to do everything in their power to try and make those stock prices consistently go up. Now, I've been using the impersonal term companies, but realistically, basically all of the companies that do this are run by billionaires who make the call to do things like lay off employees to try and get their profits up. And they're also invested in by billionaires who are also pressuring them to do things like lay off employees to try and get their profits up. Now, I know that a lot of people here are probably not big fans of Dave Ramsey. See, he's gotten a lot of flack from more left-leaning media for some of the things he says and some of the things he does, and I actually don't entirely disagree with a lot of the points that people are making against him. But I do want to highlight one of these rants that he went on one of his podcasts a couple of weeks ago.
The other thing we see with corporate America is that if they want to increase profits and you've got a huge workforce, an easy way to short-term, and it is a short-term play, to increase profits is cut your biggest line item, which is payroll. Next quarter, your profits will go up and your stock price will go up. So basically, you're trading, when you fire people, you lay people off, you put them on the street, their dreams are crushed, their house is in foreclosure, they're panicking, they're scared, but you got your profits up. You suck. That's absolutely unethical. And it's also very short-sighted because as soon as you want to grow your little business again, you've got to rehire those people that you sacrificed on the altar of stock price or somebody like them. And somebody dumb enough to walk in your doors and work for you again after you pissed on the last bunch.
Now, the entire rant is about 12 minutes long and available on his YouTube channel, and it's actually probably worth watching even if you don't like him very much. But in the rest of the rant, he specifically names about a dozen companies that are laying people off in the pursuit of higher profits and calls each one of them scummy and unethical, saying that they're just in the pursuit of higher profits and what they're doing is wrong and they should be ashamed of themselves. And on top of that, people should not buy from or work for those companies. Now, I am by no means saying that Dave Ramsey isn't those exact things that he called those other companies. That's a topic for another video, and I'm not going to state what I believe one way or the other. But even someone as rich and well-connected and high up on the social ladder as Dave Ramsey understands that these companies are literally just in it for profit. There's no delusion of anything else. They're not content with making the same amount of money as last year. It has to be more because the people running these companies believe they have to be continuously making more. The billionaires that are in charge of these companies are not your friends, even if they're Ryan Reynolds, who seems like a really nice guy. But also, infamous drug lord Pablo Escobar was also very well liked by a lot of Colombians. He did a lot of good in his communities, tons of charitable donations, lots of business investments. And when he died, 25,000 people attended his funeral to mourn for him. You can be a nice, kind, fun-loving guy and at the same time compromise your good values in the pursuit of a $300 million payout. But I want to be clear that I'm not necessarily saying that Ryan Reynolds is a bad person or that I don't understand why he took what is probably one of the biggest payouts of his entire life. For example, I enjoy supporting local restaurants. It's one of the things that I really love to do is go around and find tiny locally owned holes in the walls and eat there. It's something that I value. But if someone came along and offered me $300 million or even $3 million to never again eat at a small locally owned restaurant again, I think I would take that offer. That kind of money could change my life and my family tree forever. I would cease to have any financial concerns. I could take care of all the financial concerns of my family. My life and the life of all of those around me would improve so dramatically, there would be no reasonable way that I could turn that down. When you have money, you have the desire to create more money. But because you have money, it's easy to fulfill that desire and create more money because when you start making money, it's easy to keep making money because money makes money and this cycle continues. But at some point you reach a critical mass where you're no longer able to by yourself honestly make more money. And as such, something's gotta give. And this gives way to unethical practices becoming commonplace in companies, primarily because it makes money and there's no consequences for it. You start to see companies do unethical things like Amazon drivers having so much pressure to stay on a specific delivery crunch time that they're forced to pee in bottles. A Wisconsin meat plant called PSSI hiring literal children to do their cleaning in order to cut costs. Large corporations spending $1 billion in lobbying to make sure no laws are passed that might cut into their profits. But in basically all of these instances, even if something bad happens, there are basically no consequences for it. Amazon, for example, basically only had complaints filed against them. No legal action was ever taken about that. PSSI had to pay a fine of $1.5 million, which may sound like a lot of money for, say, an individual, but for a company that makes $2.73 billion annually, it's not even a drop in the bucket. It's a drop in the bucket. And even with that fine, they came out way on top by using child labor. I guarantee you they saved more than $1.5 million by underpaying underage children. It's basically just the cost of doing business. The Mint Mobile sellout is basically just a blip on Ryan Reynolds' radar. Not enough people are going to care about this for it to have any kind of a meaningful impact on him currently or any future projects he might take on, even if he takes another huge payout. In fact, in his mind, this is probably a resounding success. He bought ownership in a company, used his image and influence to grow it to millions of subscribers, made it a popular brand, and then sold it for over $1 billion with almost no backlash. That's gotta feel like a home run to him. Nobody's gonna stop drinking Aviation gin or stop using 1Password because of this, and certainly nobody's gonna stop watching his movies because of this. Because frankly, nobody really cares that much. And the people that do care are so few that it probably literally could not matter less to him that they care. 13,000 dislikes for a payout of $300 million is absolutely worth it to him. So why would he care if a couple of people online are annoyed about this? So basically, when you're rich and or famous, the world becomes your oyster, and you can do pretty much whatever you want. Even if that thing you want is to claim you have one value, and then with a little bit of pushing, everyone realizes that you have another one. Because it feels like so often, values cease to matter in favor of making another dollar. And this is only helped by the fact that compromising your values or doing something unethical in the pursuit of even more money so rarely has any consequences. So if you want to get money and then you're able to get money and there are almost no consequences for getting that money, why would you ever not take the money? It's not like it'll change anything. So just remember this happening. And remember that billionaires are not your friends, even if they're Ryan Reynolds. The only thing that they're friendly towards is your wallet. So make sure to keep that one close to your chest. Thanks for watching.